and welcome to your favorite sports podcast from the ground up. Here's another episode. Getting into some things, getting closer to the playoffs, getting closer to all things basketball, getting closer to LeBron's return, which I'm excited about, but we'll get to that in a brief second. Um, but yeah, we have a lot of stuff to talk about, man. Like I said, it's probably about 13 or 14 more games left until the playoffs. The end of the regular season. Sorry, I'm getting ready to wrap up, so seeding and everything is pretty much almost final. There's a couple pushes that can make a difference, but for the most part, everybody's kind of in the spot that they're going to be in, and we'll go look into the playoffs a little bit and see what the early predictions are and things of that nature. But starting out with some regular season news still, since we are still currently in the regular season. So the case of the MVP, it's something that a lot of people have been talking about, but this year I feel like it's kind of different. Like there's not really like a clear cut MVP choice where it's between two players or three players. It's kind of like everybody has their own preference of who the MVP should be for their own reasons. Some people say Steph because of the month he's had. Some people say Joel Embiid just because even with his injury, he's still been the most consistent thus far. Some saying Jokic from the Denver Nuggets should be in consideration. I think I heard Chris Paul because of what he's been able to do with the Suns. And I'm trying to think of who else is. I think those are like the top candidates in people's minds, at least, that would be in consideration for the MVP. Now I know the talk has been, does Steph Curry have a legit shot at the MVP, and should he be MVP just because of the month that he's had? If you don't know, or you've been living under a rock, or you don't watch basketball at all, allow me to refresh you, or to bring you up to speed, I should say. Steph has been playing out of his mind this month. He's made 83 threes in a month, which is an NBA record, and just utterly ridiculous if you think about the fact that that man has made 83 threes in a 30 day month. So it's like it's kind of crazy to even think about somebody being able to shoot that many threes in a month, honestly and truly, and just to shoot them at the accuracy that he's shooting them at. Again, I've said it before and I'll say it again, that's the greatest shooter I've ever seen with my two eyes. It really doesn't get any better with Steph than from this, especially from distance. So I could definitely understand that. I could definitely see that. He is literally the sole reason the Warriors are afloat and are in position to either be playing at a seeding or a playing game, which they can play in their some sorts of positions into the playoffs, or lock up the 8th seed. So I could understand people saying Steph as an MVP candidate, and I could see why. Myself personally, I wouldn't put Steph in the MVP race or consider him an MVP just because he had one incredible shooting month. Because I'm not overlooking how great that this month has been for Steph, but he hasn't been playing this way up until this point. Like, it would be different if he started off the season this way and getting to now and he just hit this uncharted water of a hot streak. But he was kind of in a bit of a slump before now and wasn't playing all that great. The Warriors weren't playing all that great. They weren't winning that many games. They weren't really must-see TV that they are now. This particular month, I don't know if he switched up his diet. I don't know if it was something that something in the water or the Gatorade or whatever the case, or I don't know, maybe Ayesha Curry was getting on his nerves. So like something clicked, something happened. I don't know what in the stratosphere set him off, but whatever it was, it definitely did. But I still don't think that this month is enough to put him in the MVP race, in my personal opinion. Like I said, if anybody else that does, I can't really knock you, because like I said, he's been utterly incredible this month. So he definitely could be a dark horse or a sleeper pick in the MVP race, but I personally wouldn't put him in my MVP discussion. To me, an MVP isn't from start to finish throughout the season where it's like it's clear cut, just domination. Like, a couple bad games here and there, like obviously that's gonna happen, but you don't get to just hit a hot streak and then all of a sudden you're an MVP. Like, to me, you have to carry that throughout the season, and I don't think Steph has enough of a case this season to be in the MVP consideration. I'm not really even sure who my MVP is for real. I can see, like I said, I can see Joel. Joel's definitely played consistent throughout the year. He's definitely been dominating and playing how he's supposed to play. He's, for the most part, stayed injury free. he did have the slight injury, the hyperextended knee, I believe it was, where he missed a couple games. But I mean, he's come back since then and still been dominant, just like he was before. Jokic, I can see that as well, just because I mean, he was dominant before Jamal Murray went down, but he's been even more dominant now that they don't have Jamal Murray anymore. But I don't really know. Like this year is one of those really weird years where there's no really clear cut for MVP at this particular moment, just because it's kind of been a sporadic season and everybody's been getting hurt. So I don't think it's really I don't think I can really make a fair assessment of who I would really choose for my MVP, just for that sake alone. The short season, the short turnaround for the season, I should say. And like I said, there's just been so many injuries to major players, and so I don't know. It's just really strange. I'd have to see a couple more games, I guess, to make kind of a decision, or just do a little bit more. Kind of going back to the beginning of the season and kind of comparing and contrasting between then and now to see who I would decide as my MVP. Because right now I don't really have a choice for MVP. Honestly and truly, nobody's really jumped out at me like this is the clear cut MVP in previous years. So I don't know, man. We'll see. Real quick, it seems like I talk about KD every other show, like every other episode. But that's also because KD does something every other day. Like at this point, I feel like I should do an episode a day, just because there's just always something noteworthy, especially when it comes to Kevin Durant and how, like, Kevin Durant is one of those people that I wish I could get into the psyche of and like try to understand his mind frame and why he does some of the things he does, because hearing him explain it don't make sense. And then seeing him do seeing him do the things that he does sometimes doesn't make sense either. And so it's like when you put the two together, it's just like a big ball of confusion. Like that's why him and Kyrie are a match made in heaven, because they're literally the same person. Like Kyrie's a real smart dude, but sometimes hearing him talk and then seeing what he does, it's just like they don't correlate. So there was a tweet that someone put out on Twitter, just like a random fan. And if you know anything about KD, then you know he's extremely hypersensitive. And he sees everything. Like it doesn't matter what it is. If you say Kevin Durant in the win 3 times, he might appear. Like it's one of those things where like he just doesn't know when to let it go. And so basically, in short, the tweet was that that Steph needed KD for his last 2 championships, and that the Warriors wouldn't have won those 2 championships without Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant liked the tweet. He ended up unliking the tweet. Whatever the case. Here's the thing. I need Kevin Durant and the Warriors to both let it go. You guys had an incredible run. You guys were an unstoppable team together. You ratted out 2 championships. You formulated the new version of what a dynasty is in today's NBA. There's a rarity of dynasties. There's not a lot of teams that can consider themselves dynasties. The Warriors are one of those teams, all in part to Kevin Durant as well as Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. While I do believe that KD is the reason why Steph got those last 2 championships, that's not to say Steph wouldn't have won another one without Kevin Durant, considering the fact that the year prior to Kevin Durant joining, they had won a championship and were in lines to run it back again, whether Kevin Durant came or not. The reason KD wanted to go to Golden State was 1, because of the culture, 2, because they were winning and were pretty much on track to run through the league again. Nobody was stopping them or nobody was getting in the way, and it was the easiest cakewalk to a championship. I mean, it was tennis ball in the ocean as far as how easy it was once he joined the Warriors. So in short, they both needed each other. Like, they both elevated each other's game. Kevin Durant is not a 2-time champion without Steph. Steph is not a 3-time champion without KD. Both things are true. Both things can exist. However, I need for Kevin Durant to let it go. I think had KD known what the narrative was going to be about him once he left Golden State, or once that run was over, I think he would have probably not gone to Golden State. And I say this all the time. I think KD, in hindsight, I think he regrets I cannot talk today. He regrets going to Golden State. The reason I say that is because he was never gonna. KD was searching for validation. Golden State was the wrong place to get that validation. He was never gonna be considered in the. Once he went to Golden State, that takes him out of the runnings of the LeBrons and the Kobe's and the Jordans as far as what we consider great and consider leaders and just all of those intangible things that make those guys who they are. He took himself out of that conversation joining Golden State. Now people could say, "Oh, well, Bron enjoyed D Wade and Chris Bosh in Miami." True, but Bron was the clear-cut greatest player on that team. He was the clear-cut leader of that team. He was like Miami went as he went. Dwayne Wade was no longer the Dwayne Wade of old. He wasn't 06 D Wade anymore. He was like on his last almost inch of a leg. And LeBron kind of extended his run and made him a three-time champion because let's keep it all the way a buck. Dwayne Wade doesn't have 3 championships without LeBron James. LeBron doesn't have his first ring without D Wade. It again, correlation. It's all there. However, the difference between the two situations is that we got to see LeBron in a sample size of being the leader, the sole leader of his team, where wins, losses, right, wrong, and different all depends on him. He didn't have a Russ. He didn't have a James Harden. He didn't have a Steph. He didn't have a Clay. In those first 8 years in Cleveland, and he ratted off 2 MVPs, went to the finals. I mean, like all of these things without having a great basketball coach, without having those additions. So it's like it's quite the difference. It's the same, but it's different. So I mean, I think. But again, I think KD's biggest problem is that he's still searching for that validation. So that I think that's the reason why he lashes out and why we have these Kevin Durant moments, these sporadic moments of him liking tweets like that, or him leaving Russ off his top 5 teammates of all time, or him, pretty much saying that, or pretty much not even saying because he didn't say it, but he agreed with basically Steph needing them, or later on, even after he left OKC, he was, liking tweets about he couldn't win with Russ and stuff like I think there's reasons behind that. And I think because, like I said, he's still searching for that validation. So it's like, look, if I point you in this direction and I try to make you see it from my point of view, then maybe you will validate me and put me in that same conversation with LeBron and Kobe and Jordan. And it's like, it's not going to happen that way, KD. Like, they earn that. You don't get to just decide how that plays out. Like, you got to earn it too. And it's what I'm saying, it's hard for people to look at you in that light, because when you've kind of cakewalked your way into a lot of your accomplishments. Not to say that KD isn't KD, because I mean, we can't deny KD's talent. Like, you can't teach the kind of talent that KD brings to the game. So I'm not trying to pretend like he's not what he is. Like, he's a great player, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that at all. What I'm saying is, however, is the validation that he seeks to be on the level that he wants to be on, he's not there yet. And I think that bothers him, because people are always associating his accomplishments with somebody else, and that's nobody else's fault but KD. You made the decision to leave OKC and go to Golden State. You made the decision to leave Golden State and go to Brooklyn with Kyrie and then beg them to get James Harden. You did that. Nobody forced your hand. Nobody made you. You are a grown man. So these are decisions that you made. You got to live with that. You got to look yourself in the mirror. Like, we didn't do that. And you can't get mad at people for commenting or pointing out the obvious. The fact of the matter is, you needed Steph just as much as Steph needed you. They go hand in hand. There's nothing wrong with that. You're still a 2-time champion. No matter how you got it, you're still a champion. Nobody can ever take that away from you. When they say Kevin Durant, they say 2-time champion Kevin Durant. They say 2-time Finals MVP Kevin Durant. Nobody can take that away, no matter how you slice it. But be okay with that. Like, some people are just not going to see you the way that you want them to see you, and that's fine. If I'm Kevin Durant, I wouldn't give a damn what the next person had to say about me, or what the comments or commentators or fans or who wanted to talk about the validation of my, or the legitness of my legacy. I wouldn't give a damn. Listen, I'm gonna be in the Hall of Fame. I'm a 2-time champion, a 2-time Finals MVP. End of discussion. End of discussion. There's nothing else that you and I, or you and me and anybody else needs to talk about. That's just me, though. But Kevin Durant can't come to that realization, which is why he does some of the things that he does. Matter of fact, I think I just solved it. I know I just said I couldn't quite figure him out, but I think I just solved it. And I didn't even mean to do that. That was on accident, not on purpose. I A couple more things I wanted to talk about a couple more things, but I think I'm gonna save those for the next episode because it kind of plays into like the playoffs, and I wanted to talk like the next episode talk about the playoffs and things of that nature a bit more. So I'll go here. Damian Lillard recently made some comments about the Nets and KD. And basically Portland is in long story. I cannot talk today. Long story short, the Portland Trailblazers are struggling, and somebody asked him a question. I forgot exactly the verbatim what the question was or what was said to him, but his response was that we're not the Brooklyn Nets. Like, we don't have Kyrie, we don't have KD, we don't have James Harden. Like, we got to get it out the mud and figure it out. Like, we're not a superstar team. And then I think before then he said something like that he feels like the Nets are trying to buy a championship. I love Dame. I want to start that with this. I love Dame. I'm a fan of Dame. I like his game. I like his attitude. Not really crazy about his rapping, but that's neither here nor there. We're not talking about that. However, Dame has said comments like this before, as it pertains to like super teams and things of that nature. And he's like, oh, and his thing is like, I'm loyal. I'm gonna stick with my team. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna get it out the mud, and I'm gonna win a championship here. Newsflash, Sir Dame, you're not gonna win a championship in Portland unless you get another superstar or another superstar, or matter of fact, another two superstars to join you in Portland. It's not gonna happen because unfortunately, the way the league is constructed now, teams must have multiple superstars to even contend for a championship. Not even win, just to contend. Like, you don't. That's not a sure shot that you're gonna win the championship. You have to have that just to contend. It's no longer the league where you have one superstar and a bunch of role players, and that's gonna be enough to propel you to the Western Conference Finals or to the finals, or even to be eventually be a champion. It's no longer the league for that. Now, if Dame was in like the 90s or like the early 2000s, then he would be locked in perfect. Between him and CJ, I think they probably have a championship right now. Unfortunately, as long as they're in the same conference as the Warriors, as the Lakers, as the Clippers, as the young Grizzlies, as the young Phoenix Suns, as the Utah Jazz, the Dallas Mavericks, they're going to have the same problem, and it's going to be the same fate every single time. Dame is going to give us an amazing playoff moment in like the first round. By the time we get to the second round, he's going home. I hate to say it, but it is what it is. So either he needs to look otherwise outside of Portland, or he needs to get on his LeBron and start recruiting folks, because we're going to end up talking about Dame in the same regards that we talk about Russ, that we talk about Allen Iverson, that we might talk about Chris Paul, just in it, Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, list goes on and on. He's going to end up being in that same class, unfortunately. And I hate that for him, because I do love Dame and I am a fan of Dame, but Dame got to be realistic. And I think he's being prideful right now, which again, understandable. I don't knock him at all, but he's got to be honest with himself and be honest about his situation. You're not going to win a championship with just you and CJ and the rest of the Portland Trailblazers. It's just not going to happen. And taking shots at the Nets isn't going to make your chances any better. It's just going to, for the diehard NBA fan that isn't a fan of super teams, like, you're going to be a champion to them, but you're not going to be a champion in real life. And last time I checked, I think that's what matters the most. So, this whole we're going to get it out the mud and we're just going to figure it out between us, that sounds good. It sounds good. It's great. It makes for a great story. However, it's not going to get you where you want to go. And I want more for you, Dame. I really do. So, LA is not too far from Portland. I'm not saying, but I'm saying. I think you might like it, We can show you around and stuff. Few little gold things that you might be trying to obtain. You could come take a look and, get an up close and personal look, and maybe even, hoist one day, because we're going to lock AD in and get a couple more pieces around him, because Bron is a couple, 3-4 years up out the door, so we're going to need something to kind of replace him there, or to put with him while he's still, playing at a high level. So I mean, Dame, it's just something to think about. I know you're against it and all of those things of that nature. You want to compete, and that's cool. That's cool. It's nice to compete. It's even better to win, though. Just being honest. But that concludes another episode of your favorite sports podcast from the ground up. Next episode, I will try to talk a little bit better. I don't know exactly what my issue was today. I couldn't get the words out. I think I was thinking too fast. I don't know. But no excuse. But anyway, like I said, next episode, we got a lot more stuff to talk about. I may or may not have a special guest, but we'll see. So y'all just stay tuned. Make sure y'all keep supporting, subscribing, liking, and sharing the show. Make sure y'all subscribe to the YouTube channel and watch it on the YouTube channel as well. I've been seeing the views have been going up, so I appreciate those that have been checking it out on YouTube and showing love. I really appreciate that. And we got some more news coming up for merch and things of that nature. Got some things in the works. We'll see how it pans out. Hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, it goes the way that it's supposed to. But we'll see. But anyway, like I said, in the long run, thank y'all. Love y'all from the ground up. As always. You see, I got the pink shirt on today. You feel me? Catch me in the next episode, though.